Hi, welcome back. So we are at the last two sublines of this section that we have discussed the control flow toolkit in Python. And these last two sublines talking about documentation strings and function annotation. Now, the first things is talking about the documentation strings. Here are actually some conventions about the content and the formatting of documentation strings. First of all, the first line should always be short, conscious summary of the object's purpose. If there are more lines in the documentation string, the second one should be blank. Following lines, of course, should be one or more paragraphs describing the object's calling conventions. Let me show you an example one more time. And as we have said, once you leave the second line empty, then you start writing your own descriptions right down here. So that's all about the documentation string, which we have discussed earlier, but this is the convention and this is how we actually try to write our own things. Second thing I would like to discuss about called the function annotation. You need to know that this function annotation are completely optional metadata information about the type used by the user-defined functions. So basically we learned the second argument, which I can assign a value to it, whatever it is. But before that, I would like to show you now what annotation does. Annotation, once you write your arguments or the variable that you expect to be entered, you can put a colon and followed by that colon, it's just imagine it as a key, and the value of that colon is going to describe what type of input that is. So for example, it could be an integer. Let's assume, for example, it returns a string. Here the indentation, instead of colon as we used before, we will use the dash larger sample followed by the type that this function is going to return. We would have to say my function, this case, and just open it that way. Watch carefully what happened. It's indicating that x is going to be integer exactly as I have indicated in here. Y is going to be string, and it has a default value of cm, and the output of this function is going to be string. Okay, if I would have to get into the annotations of this function, let's print that. You will see a print on dictionary where it indicates the key, which indicate the values here. For example, I got an argument of x, and it's an integer. Y, it's a string, and the return of this is going to be a string. Next, we will be looking at the data structure in Python. I'll see you then.